Then there's Wade Robson. Now, Wade Robson, who was a longtime friend of Michael Jackson.
Correct.
Took the stand for the defense.
First witness.
First witness.
Correct.
Tell me about your, encounter with Wade Robson.
So we had these 11, they're called 1108 witnesses, prior bad act witnesses. And there's a few states, California sadly being one of them, allows you to bring in people to talk about things that you're not being charged with, what are called prior bad acts. Again, we had to deal with it in Bill Cosby's case. But in this particular case, these 5 people had sued Michael for wrongful termination. They were all fired for stealing from Neverland. They lost their lawsuit. I think Michael actually filed a cross complaint, got a judgment against them, whatever. But these people were coming in to testify on behalf of the prosecution that they saw Michael doing this or Michael doing that, sexual act, what have you. So the theory being is let's go straight to the source and ask them. So Wade Robson, Brett Barnes, Shantae Robson, Wade's sister, Joy Robson, his mother, people who were allegedly there when these witnesses were claiming prior bad acts. I went out and I interviewed them. And with Wade, I interviewed Wade easily 3.5 to 3 to 4 hours, let's say. So again, as you and I spoke previously, one of the issues is we did serve Wade Robson with a subpoena. I had said previously, I think Tom in interviews had believed that Wade was not served with a subpoena. I'd like to clear that up now, if I may. Not only was he served, I actually have it. I found it in my documents. The only time you turn a subpoena in is if somebody doesn't show. You serve them with a subpoena, you fill out the proof of service, and if somebody doesn't show up, you turn it into the court. In this particular case, Wade had agreed to come in. He signed an on-call agreement. I have those documents. The reason that we had to serve him wasn't to force the cooperation. He had told us and was always going to cooperate. The reason he had to be served is because Judge Melville had issued a gag order that had been prepared by Tom Sneddon. And in order to serve the witnesses with a gag order, you can't just sort of say, here you go, because it's not addressed to anybody in particular. But we served the subpoena, we served the on-call agreement, had it signed, and served the gag order all simultaneously. So everybody who testified was served. And the reason that they were served is because, again, we had to get the gag order to them. Prosecution served me, Sergeant Steve Robel, who is the head investigator for the DAs, for the sheriffs, Santa Barbara sheriffs, served me with a subpoena, again, for the sole purpose of making sure that I had a gag order. Even though I fell under the umbrella of Tom, it was still something that, for whatever reason, they chose to do. And again, I got along great with Robel. He's a nice guy. But the point is that I had said previously, and I wanted to clarify that, I was wrong. He was served with a subpoena. I still have the original. And he was served with a gag order. I have a copy of that. And he was signed an on-call agreement, which, again, I have that. But when he changed his story and came out with this leaving Neverland thing, I was dumbfounded. And I don't get it. What was interesting, too, that you probably don't know, so he has a brother named Shane Robson. Shane Robson, his older brother, was a police officer in Brisbane, Australia. When the family had moved to California, Shane's father, Dennis, was alive. And so he stayed in Australia and he continued to work his job. Now, mind you, he's a police officer. And I'm not talking about a meter maid. He's a full-blown, full-on sworn police officer. Dennis passed away, so he came to be back with his family. So he got here and he got a license as a private investigator. When I first met Joy Robson, Wade's mother, she said, my son's a private investigator. And I said, I'd love to meet him, but not until this is done. I don't want to do anything that makes it look like it's a compromise. Ultimately, I became very good friends with Shane. I think the world of Shane. I know his wife, I know his kids. And in fact, a week, almost 2 weeks before Leaving Neverland aired, I don't know why Shane didn't tell me that he had done this, and I get he needs to be in support of his brother, but he went with me door to door out in Pomona. We were working on a murder case, and we were canvassing door to door looking for a particular person who we could see in a video, one of the neighbors' videos, who witnessed the shooting. And again, I was a little disappointed that he didn't say something to me. And when we ultimately discussed it, it's one of those things we just agreed to disagree. But for Wade to change his entire story like that is insane. I don't buy it for a second.
Right. And Wade Robson changed the story in 2013, which is right after the 7-year statute of limitations for perjury, right?
I've never seen anybody. Well, that's not true. I have a case right now. Witnesses don't get charged with perjury unless it's something incredibly egregious. I don't believe he would have ever been charged with perjury, but in the same respect, why would he lie in the first place? Again, not a fan of Ronzonens or Auchincloss or Snedden, but they're really good lawyers. These people know what they're doing. And I don't believe for 1 second, as nice of a person as Wade is, I don't think that he's able to get past me, past Mesereau, past Susan Yu, past Zonin, past Snedden, past Gordon Auchincloss. I don't believe it for a second. But the truth is, when you're telling the truth, you don't need to worry about getting through somebody. All of a sudden now, I'll give you an example. I know that the civil team that was involved in this lawsuit asked him to take a polygraph, and they refused to do it. So my response would have been the same thing: take a polygraph.
Yeah.